Ladies and gentlemen, it's currently November 2nd, 2011, and this is Day 9 Daily number 370, where we learn to be a better gamer. Interestingly enough, my head admin Marky has just decided, literally 1 minute ago, to unban every person who has ever been banned from the Day 9 TV chat channel. This is equivalent to that movie where all of a sudden the American prison system says, well, we'll put all the prisoners on an island and have a game that gets televised. I can't believe he's actually doing that. The mods apparently were having too much fun leisurely watching all the daily start to finish with a polite group of insightful and friendly viewers. They wanted to cause the ruckus, and the ruckus they shall bring down. So P.S. Trolls, if you're seeing this, the admins have unbanned you. You have free reign now. That's what you get for your random act of kindness. Every day you're Jefferson Markey. Alright, in other exciting news, we are going to be doing a daily today on Huck and a gentleman named Aria, who's been having a huge, gigantic, sick buzz about him. But we're going to come back to that in a moment. The important thing is that I recently became acquainted with Words with Friends, or as we like to call it, asynchronous Scrabble. And I think it's quite brilliant, actually, the way it works. It's literally Scrabble, except you submit your move, and whenever your opponent wants to move, they do. There's no time limit or anything like that. So that way, you know, when you're perhaps in LA traffic and you're trying to speed through a yellow light, you can just open up your Words with Friends and try to re-anagram letters to form better words and try not to crash. This is a technique commonly used by every driver on the 405. However, what I quickly discovered is that what is a friendly game for many of my friends is actually a ridiculously competitive experience for me, where I'm the man! Oh my god, I'm so good at Words with Friends. You might think that you're good at Words with Friends. You probably are, but I'm better. Here's what happened, man. I have this friend, and we're playing, alright? And she makes her move. She spends a little time, she spends her move, and it's something like dogs. Dogs. Nothing big. Off that S, I played Stoicism. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Or you know what? Later down the road, she was really pleased because she played Hoax. H-O-A-X. And then there was the triple word score. I had an ES, so I just played Hoaxes right off the bat. Boom! Strictly more points. We're literally 3 moves in, right? I played Cheek. I played Cheek. Alright? You getting that? She played Frozen. And then I played Japan for 76 points because I got the J on a triple letter. And now it is currently, let me just get an exact reading on the score. It is 112 to 14. Bucketed. I feel this incredible amount of power deep in me. Words like chi, I didn't know were words. Do you know your 2-letter words? You do now. Joe, that means sweetheart, J-O. It also means sweet one-sided murdering when we play because I hit the J again on the triple letter score. That feels so good, Joe. God, I'm awesome. What's your word, huh? What are you going to play? Patio? That's really interesting. Fecund. You don't even know what that means. No one knows what that means. It's a word, though. Fecund. So we have Aria versus Huck in the real StarCraft world. Aria versus Huck. There's been a recent explosion of controversy and excitement and elation as many of the old Brood War pros are now stepping into the realm of StarCraft 2. What does it mean? Really, probably not very much, because it is a different game. Sure, someone who plays basketball will be probably decently equipped to play soccer due to their pre-athletic ability. However, StarCraft 2 is a completely different game from StarCraft 1 and requires all its own sets of learnings and thinkings. The one thing, though, that I don't think enough people in StarCraft 2 have exploited is the fact that the amount of multitasking some of those Brood War pros have is ridiculous. We tend to, in StarCraft 2, think of solid mechanics as, I guess I would say only a restriction, right? Like, I have to remember to macro. I have to remember to macro. If I'm a good player, I'll never forget to macro. And if I'm a bad player, it means I might forget. However, the Brood War pros tend to show good macro and then uncanny macro. Or there's micro, and then there's like uncanny micro, where suddenly our roaches are like 2 times as good as they ordinarily are. We generally think of a lot of mechanics as just stuff that you have to remember, but we're going to see in this game, Aria does a lot of things that kind of make you go, whoa, whoa, kind of blow your freaking mind. So, though we've been doing a lot of chain dailies, where we ask for submissions and all that sort of thing, this is going to be one of my favorite things ever, a pure up standard, straightforward analysis of the game. And of course Huck's in it, and I love Huck. I don't really know how else to put that. Huck is good. Huck is good. Oh, and funny you silly bitches asking, Amnesia is so happening when this daily's done. 8:30 Pacific. 8:30 Pacific. If you're watching on the archives, if you're one of those silly bitches who watches the archives, then you're just one of those people who's going to be able to watch the Amnesia on the archives. Alright, cool. Let's focus on Aria. Aria Shukti Day. Aria's going to do a whole bunch of things that are just insanely, ridiculously quick reaction times. I mean, hell, even this extractor trick just turned me right on. Look at how ninja-esque he does it. Come on, do the extractor trick. Here it comes, here it comes. Bam! That was entirely ordinary in every way, but I'm attributing meaning. Okay, not really that exceptional. Whatever. Now Aria is going to be doing everything non-exceptional. Let's go ahead and speed the game up. Huck is, of course, going to go for the gateway, followed by gas. Nothing wrong with this. On this map, it's hard to constrict this area with a forge fast expand, so we're just going to go gateway first, as per anticipation. Players used to just think, well, I'm going to go economic, and I will get my pool a little bit later. We're seeing players like Aria in this very game get the pool a smidge earlier, just because it is so important to have your queen up a smidge earlier. Interestingly, earlier pools doesn't necessarily mean fewer larvae, as it would be in StarCraft 1, where the earlier your pool was, the later your hatch was. Sure, you'll have a late second hatch, but my god, will that queen pop out with incredible efficiency. Bam! It goes down. So the outset of the game is not something that really blows my mind too extraordinarily much. I wanted to talk a little bit about the things that people were saying about this game over on Reddit and in Team Liquid. Things like Aria's overall fundamentals and mechanics were remarkable. Something even as simple as this moment, where we're going to see this one Zergling poke up and prod and continue to just skirt its way around, taking even the slightest little opportunity to whack away at that probe while still maintaining a nice even kilter distance from the Zealot. Good stuff. Very, very, very careful sort of repositioning. Now, this kind of thing, I would say anyone could do, and a lot of you do. A lot of you do. However, you will see this a lot, like a lot. So I just want to make you feel aware. Also, there's little things. You heard me say that, something like never missing Marines, like always macroing. People consider that what you're supposed to do. But if you can really focus hardcore on your mechanics, you can have a lot of these little things happen. Like this moment right here I found particularly nifty, where we're going to see the larva literally explode up like so fast when the Overlord pops. Like right when that Overlord pops. You see how the Overlord, as it was popping up, it was just like whoosh, it just flooded right on up. Again, that's just holding down the D button, but that sort of awareness is what will give you these little tiny extra boosts. And as StarCraft 2 will advance forward, it will end up coming down to these ultra small margins where players really need a win. Interestingly, we're going to see Aria just do a lot of those and get into a lot of really cool, great situations. Having this seemingly total map awareness at all points in time. Now, one thing that I actually want to do is, I'm in the Aria camp. I want you to just notice where Aria's looking in the last little bit of time. I want you to notice where the eyes are in this viewport camera. Are you starting to notice what I'm noticing? Everyone talked about how incredible Aria's mechanics were, but a lot of people just identify, herp derp derp, he's building lots of things. I want to build lots of things one day, and that's the extent of it. But what I want to focus on, I'm actually slowing it down to the normal speed, not to faster, but to normal. I want you to notice how little time is spent looking in the main here, how little time is spent looking over here, and how much time is spent out and about. This is something that I talked about in Day 9 Daily number 252, the Big Epic Mechanics Daily. You always want to be looking somewhere different than what your hands are doing. As we rewatch this part, let me deselect this and hop into his camera view. I want you to look down here. So here we have the Zergling moving along. Did you see that little blip of selection where he checked the pool? Look again. We're going to back up. These are ultra important moves. So I'm going to speed it up just a bit. Look down here. Look down here. Look, doing a lot with the hatchery while viewing up here. Checking the hatchery. Checking the hatchery. Checking the Zerglings. Checking the queen. Just checking. Moving to the right. Now watch here. He's going to select the pool for like just an instant. Bam. There's the pool selection that just happened. Very, very quickly, just to double check on the speed. And as we're here, this is so magnificent. Look, sending the queen over, sending it down. Zerglings, total focus up on here. Remember what I mentioned literally only 2 minutes ago? I mentioned that, wow, the control and care of how he moved these Zerglings around. Well, this is kind of what it means to have high action per minute, is not the amount that you're clicking, but the amount of looking that the eyes are doing. And this is just a nice early example. Look at his clicking, selecting the Overlord, moving the Overlord around, selecting Zerglings. He's going to be selecting the pool there, checking the hatchery, briefly coming down to check back. Almost no time spent in the main. Almost none. And a lot of people will be deceived by this APM tab and just think, oh man, I need to play fast. And then when they themselves play fast, they'll be having their eyes in the wrong place. Only comes down to look at the main hatchery when he needs to add on more guys into gas or add on this evolution chamber. The rest of the time spent exclusively out on the map, poking and looking around. And at almost any point in time when we look at this game, we'll see that Aria is just magnificent at hardly ever looking at his main area of his main base, except only when he needs to put guys into gas, build buildings. He looks at his units as he's moving around, spends a lot of time looking at the units, and then has this ridiculously fast reaction time. One thing that I'll just say just literally impressed me a lot. I mean, I don't really know how else to say this. This is just really damn impressive. He is going to be almost never missing a larva inject, and these two queens are not synced up. And this evolution chamber literally just finished, and instantly the +1 melee attack happened. I mean, this is kind of like stupidly on the money. Here it comes. Look at this. Yeah, and there's 26 larvae. Bam! This thing just hatched. Bam! Not missing a beat. And again, that's impressive, right? That gets everyone excited. This is fantastic. But again, I want to direct your eyes down here to his hotkeys. He has hit each hatchery hotkey to something different, so he can constantly check on the progress of the larva. And look at that, he has his evolution chamber hotkeyed. He has his pool hotkeyed. He has an Overlord 3 and 2 as the primary Overlords he needs to be focused on. He has his Zerglings as 1. Now I better freaking hurry up, because this game is about 45 minutes long, and we want to be talking about Aria's playstyle as well, rather than oogling at his mechanics. But my god, his mechanics are freaking damn good. In general, you see players get the Roach Warren and the Evolution Chamber simultaneously. Absolutely not. Aria's going to be just getting this Evolution Chamber a smidge, a touch early, getting the layer up right on the money. We're already seeing this magnificent distribution of resources come to life, where his resources are smack dab down at 0. And he's doing a great job monitoring his Protoss buddy. Now, one thing that a lot of people on Team Liquid and Reddit said tons and tons and tons about is that Aria seemed to have absolutely no knowledge of the usual transitions of the typical avenues of attack or avenues of composition. For instance, these Zerglings would have seen this Nexus and been able to conclude, Huck built this Nexus on just one gateway. He couldn't have possibly built gateways 2 and 3 because he wouldn't have the money to be able to do that early. So that's great. That's all good jazz. However, yeah, that's all good, but he might not know that. So I don't want to focus as much on that. We're going to see some confusing decisions from Aria, given what we would normally consider to be normal. But one of the big things that a lot of the other Brood War pros are very well familiar with is the importance of keeping your resources evenly distributed. Notice that his money and his gas are both very, very low. He's not necessarily saving up for any particular upgrade. I mean, sure, if you have a lot of gas and you're going to have your Mutalisks pop up soon, that's one thing. But in this sort of situation, where every resource counts, we're seeing an excellent, excellent little mix. So sure, third hatch popping up early, just enough of those roaches. And I think a lot of people would probably still be droning here. I feel like many, many of your Zerg buddies would still be droning, probably squeezing out a few roaches. We're going to see Aria get quite a bit more aggressive than that, building a lot of roaches and Lings, getting the speed upgrade. Here's something that I guess is kind of weird, going for the +1 armor. A little bit funky. Overseer just popping right on in, spotting everything that's up. And I would say that Huck is doing the expected thing. I honestly don't think that this is emphasized enough, that for the mid-game, just having a Forge getting +1 and a robotics facility for a couple of Immortals, really standard way to just step forward. Sure, there's a Twilight Council, but I think these two buildings are kind of one of the essentials. And this struck me as the most Brood War-esque thing I think that I had ever seen in my entire life. This really fast Spire. This is something that I think is severely, ridiculously, absurdly underused. I said that a lot of people would be droning. We see Aria not droning. He's instead just continuing to build up a decent number of roaches while establishing his third base. He's going to begin getting aggressive, but there's a lot of just beautiful, beautiful tactics that we're going to see Aria use in a moment. In the meantime, let's just come to the Aria cam and note again, look at where his eyes are. I didn't even have to plan a time to get the Aria cam, literally any time. Look at this, he's macroing, but looking in the center of the map. He's going to come back and just do the larva injects. But again, 0 time spent looking anywhere close to his base unless he's building something or injecting larva. Look at this incredible vision on the main screen where he's doing this play here, this split maneuver. And this timing actually just got me so excited. At this point in time, he doesn't know exactly that there's an expansion here. I mean, he would easily suspect it with the Spire popping up. But all these little tiny moves where he's going to make up here. Coming back to the Aria cam. See him being very, very bold. And this timing is kind of a stuttered timing. What we're actually seeing Aria do is put a little pressure here, put a little pressure here, right before his Spire finishes. It's not like roaches come in the left and the Spire comes in the right. Instead, he's continuing to press where he looks like he will have some advantage, and then he's going to be adding on these Mutalisks right off the bat. This is a fairly uncommon attack timing for Zerg. A lot of Zerg players will say, well, I mean, there's no way for me to put pressure back on a Protoss player because I have to build the drones. I need Broodlords to put on some sort of pressure. And in general, if I'm making nothing but drones, I have to think defensively. You see players like Stefano who are really good at defending, and then jumping into aggression with a ton of roaches, and then with a ton of corruptors in there, and because they have 4 bases up, they can rally and really drill with these direct frontal attacks. But Aria showing that, hey, you know what? If you actually get a lot more roaches early on, you can do a small push with those roaches, and then in that window you can get the drones up. Not beforehand. Again, the usual way Zerg plays is drone, 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 unit, 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 unit. Literally, it's like a dividing line where it's econ before units afterwards, and this extremely unusual attack timing where it doesn't really line up with the +1 carapace upgrade. It more so just lines up with the fast speed upgrade, but this speed upgrade plus Spire plus third is a very unusual play. Very, very unusual, and it looks like our Zerg player is more than willing to be quite aggressive at this point in time. So we're actually going to go ahead and take a brief break, and when we come back, we're going to see Aria's mid-game tactic stuff come in. In part 1, we looked a lot at his mechanics, and we looked at kind of the funness of just going into his first-person camera and oogling at his APM, more importantly, where his eyes are positioned. So when we come into part 2, let's see how he uses those tactics effectively to set himself up. I'll be back in just a bit.